Angola has the highest infant mortality rate in the world. And Sarah was really excited to go and get a foothold in there where a lot of other people aren't doing anything. And Angola is one of those countries where there's like a lot of really super rich people or extremely poor. There's no middle class. So they're not funding these malnutrition clinics for the people who are starving to death in their countries. So we went there to see what we could do and see how we could help fund those malnutrition clinics. I didn't think it would be as bad as Haiti, being surrounded by tent cities and horrible destruction from earthquakes. But Angola was actually a little bit harder. The first place that we went there, we did a school feeding. So we went out there and we were partnered with JAM, Joint Aid Management in Africa, and we went and basically made food and served food to this entire school of kids, and I think that was their one meal of the day. And I know JAM does a lot of the school feeding. So we went there. That wasn't really what our focus was. Our focus was going to be babies and kids 5 and under. So that first day, we're kind of getting a taste of what Angola's like, and we went way out and fed these kids. And then a couple of days later, we actually went to the malnutrition clinic, and I didn't really know what I was going to see there. But as soon as you walked in there, you hear babies crying. You can just tell that something's not right there. And that's where they bring kids who are basically on death's door for malnutrition and also tuberculosis and stuff like that. So as soon as we get there, we meet these 3 doctors who are from Portugal, and they're there on basically a 2-month volunteer basis. And like instantly, as soon as we get there, one of the doctors is asking what blood type we are. And we're like, oh, we're kind of typical Americans, we don't really know. And it's like, I'm an organ donor, or I don't know what blood type I am. So anyway, she's like, well, we have a baby here that if she doesn't get this special blood, she's gonna die within like a couple hours. So we all got tested, and lo and behold, Steve Stanton, our photographer, was the correct blood type. And anyways, they take the blood from Steve. It's like a whole big deal, running it back, putting it in this little girl, and her name was Angelina, and she died later on. We found out that she died the next day, the day after we were there. So they did give her the blood transfusion of Steve's blood, but it was just too late. And when you're thinking about, man, I was just running around this malnutrition clinic, taking video of this little girl who, I could have died at any second. And you're there and you're really into it and you're really trying to help out. And then you get the news that this little baby, died. And I think as a videographer, when you get into these situations, you get into these places where you're trying to tell a story about someone, you're not so focused on what is going on right then. You're focused on, all right, I got to capture all this. I got to get the story. I got to do what I need to do to get my job done. And there's a big separation, at least for me, between looking through the camera and just taking in reality. You always have this filter. So when I was shooting all of it, it didn't hit me that hard. But I think as an editor, when you come back and you put all your footage out, and you really see, this little girl struggling for breath, and you really see just like the panic in their eyes, and you see this stuff, it really affects you. And it's really a hard thing to get out of your head. So I think there's a lot of emotional stuff that comes from that, but then you want to be able to make this story, you want to be able to get funding, and the way to get the funding is to show what has happened there and what the issue is. And I think as an editor, videographer, you keep that in your head for, well, probably forever. So it's a very difficult thing to do. But I wasn't expecting to see kids that were that bad off. And I think when you're there, man, it's like It's like death is just all around you, and it's so much more than sad that you can't even really express what it is. As you see these moms, and the majority of them have had more than just that one baby die. They've probably had 5 or 6 babies die from malnutrition. And you kind of look at them, and they know what's happening because they've been there before. And you really just kind of, you just pray for them as you're going around. Just like pray under your breath and in your head for these people that are going through so much pain. And it's a hard thing to deal with, to go there and look at that. And then you see these doctors who are there on a volunteer basis because the government won't let them stay. And just like the heart of those people to go out and help these kids that are halfway around the world from them, is a really cool thing to see. And that, that catches on. More and more people want to help out with that. So Saving Moses, I think, has made really big strides in funding the malnutrition clinics and making that so that it's so less women have to deal with seeing their babies starve to death. Someone's got to do it, and I know for me it's made me a lot more trusting in God. It's made me, I guess, a lot more aware of the world that we live in versus our just sheltered area in the United States.